good leadership, good, effective leadership in this country. Thank you. Good time we did it.
Let's give a round of applause to Ms. Afia for the insightful, heart-touching speech that she gave. On behalf of PCOMA, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude for your exceptional speech. In recognition of your valuable contribution, we are honored to present you with a certificate of appreciation. Thank you once again for your time, effort, and commitment to enriching our event. Thank you, Ms. Safia.
So hi again. Everyone seems to be sleepy, right? After a heavy lunch. Not really? Scared that I might give an icebreaker? In real, I'm not gonna give. So we all know we have an issue in our community, right? As per Miss Afia, which no doubt we all agree. So much negativity, right? Not good. Through Miss Afia, we all know that fear is something which holds us back, right? We need to give a little push to ourselves. So, and through her personal experience, we know that there is nothing that which we can't cope and move forward and go through it. We need little strength, little push, and right circle of friends, right? Friends and professionals. So, again, I want to ask you a favor, please. A little favor. Please take a time to fill the feedback form. Indeed, feedback acts as a catalyst for a positive change. Just a little time, a favor. Please. It's in the group, right? So as you all fill up the form, I want to introduce the next speaker with over 28 years of experience in the Maldives tourism industry, holding an MBA from OUM Malaysia and a BA in hospitality and tourism management from the University College of Birmingham. He is a seasoned resort manager at Digali, Maldives. His expertise lies in resort management, HR management, employee training, policy formulation, strategic planning, and continuous improvement. He is passionate about behavioral economics, service design, and evidence-based management. He also acquired certifications from Ogilvy Consulting UK and 42 courses. Beyond his professional endeavors, he actively engaged in community development, youth development, and the hospitality career guidance initiatives while sharing insights on his personal blog. His commitment revolves around continuous learning, facilitating growth in others, and fostering sustainable development within Maldives' hospitality sector. Here I hand over floor to Mr. HASSAN SAEED, and his topic is Fulimandu Unguri, the value of versatility in a complex and dynamic world. Please join me extending a loud round of applause to Mr. Hassan SAEED.
Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. I lost my notes. I didn't bring my notes, so I had to write some notes here. In many parts of the world, there's something called siesta. But in the Maldives, we call it bandodemu. So that is about stretching your stomach after your meals, after lunch. So, and also, there is biological evidence that your energy levels dip around this time of the day. So basically, I'm trying to talk and keep you interested against biology, against your nature. But I have to try hard because my coach is here today. My coach is listening, and she can be brutal with her feedback. And she calls it being brutally honest. So, let me start. Well, all of you know urban legends, right? There are island legends. In Maldives, we have island legends. There's an island legend from one of the central islands where a khatib, called people one day, and he gathered people and he said, "Do you know why you are here for?" And people said, "No, we don't, because you haven't told us." Then, okay, the punch is better if I say it in Divehi. Then he said, "Nenge ba ka kya dinas nenge never get that." And the next day he called them again. And then he said, "Do you know what you're here for?" And then people said, "Yes." And then he said, "Okay. Enge ba ka kumbing kya din kamante get that." But look, that's not what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about Orbeez and magic sharks. If you have kids, you know about magic sharks, right? You put them in water, kinevani, it soaks up and then becomes bigger. Same happens to Orbeez. But there's something that we all like about Orbeez and magic sharks. What is it? They're kind of cute, right? They are cute. I also grew that way. So I hope you will all find me cute. Thank you. I think my speech is done now. As a kid, I grew up looking at President Mamoon. Okay. And we all, I think, if you grew up in the 80s and late 70s, you grew up looking at him, looking up to him, watching him on TV and radio, listening to him on radio, and hearing about him. And one of the most common descriptions that people use to describe him was Fasmiru Kuriru. Right? He's a man of many talents. And that is something I also aspired to. But then over the years, I didn't become a Fasmiru Kuriru, but I became a Fulimadunguri. You know what a Fulimadunguri is? What is Fulimadu? Okay, let's talk about Fulimadu. What is Fulimadu? Regiform? Okay, how many of you think Fulimadu is regiform? Okay, show of hands. How many of you think Fulimadu is regiform? Okay, if you all believe that Fulimadu is regiform, that is like, Shahina and Picoma has sold you a lie, saying that I am an expert. That is the same as believing that Fulimadu is regiform. Yes, it's a plant thing. It is what it says. It is of plant origin, and it is a bark. It's the cork, right? In English, you call it cork. You use it to plug bottles, right? It's cork. And Fulimadu Unguri is a cork that fits many, many bottles. It's something that you can plug many holes with. So for me, someone who is versatile, who can do many things, is like a Fulimadu Unguri. My foundations is growing up in Formula. Look, working with my father. My father was a civil servant, and his title was Banderi. How many of you know what a Banderi is? Yeah, kind of. He was looking after the property and then doing the stock keeping and all that. But when he comes home, he did many more stuff. And one of the things that he did was we had a backyard garden. We grew a lot of trees. We had lemon trees. We had mango trees. We did, he had passion fruit vines. So we had lots of, trees and plants that we looked after and took care of. And then me and my brother, we have 11 in our family. That's a football team, right? That's a football team. And all of us helped our dad, and then we had this hand pump back then. This is early 80s. And then somebody had to pump it because it's pressurized. And then, so my dad can spray, and so the sprayer can reach the top of the trees, the lemon trees. So we used that. And he also repaired Petromex lamps. You know what a Petromex lamp is? Bigger, yes, exactly. Thank you. Thank you, Shihab. And people from different parts of the island will bring him their Petromex lamps, and he would repair them. He also repaired bicycles. So this is kind of what we grew up with. And then there's Achange. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, was a tinsmith. And he had a workshop. And then in this, the workshop is called Achange. We call it Achange. And on Fridays, my cousins and I had to help him. There's something called the pump that, I think it's bellow in English. Girumba, yes, exactly. We had to pump the girumba so that he can keep the flames going, and then the iron can be tamed and molded into different shapes. And as a kid, even on Sundays, Mondays, and when there is no school, and after I finished school, I used to go and hang around Achange. And this is a place that was buzzing with activity. But it wasn't only fabrication of stuff. There's also a lot of other things that happened in Achange. People would come, people would talk, they had gossip, and also everything that you can think of, every household utensil, everything was made in Achange back in those days. Everything that you use in the kitchen, your ladles, your spoons, your all these things, your knives, everything was done in Achange. Plus, my grandfather had special tools to pull teeth. Yes. And take out foreign objects. People will come with kids with madoshio lodged in the nose, and then he will take it out because he had tools. Right? You had grains of coral lodged in the ears or in the nose, in the cavities, and then he would pull them out. So this was the kind of environment that I grew up. So I never wanted to be confined into a box, into a linear career, and into doing one thing. I always wanted to do more things. And fortunately enough, we had a gem of a principal, Ibrahim Wahid. From Midu, yes, exactly. He's brother of Dr. Wahid, yes. And he would teach us. I think he was in the first batch of headmasters that were trained in the UK. He's part of the very first batch. And he would teach us literature. He would read Shakespeare. He would make us read Shakespeare. And then we would have to do drama. We would have to write ourselves. We would have to act out. So there was plenty of things that we did as kids in school. Things that I didn't see my son doing in school. Actually, we did more things in school than what my son did 20, 30 years after I was in school. So for us, it was very sort of formative. And in the 80s, I think in grade 6 and 7, we had a science book, a textbook called Integrated Science for Caribbean Schools. And one of the chapters were to do with, because the Caribbean is very big on rum, it was production of rum, distillation, fermentation and distillation. And I actually did fermentation experiments back in the 80s. I didn't drink, but my friend Sherry did the drinking. Sorry. But no, he didn't like it. He said it's rubbish. I had a very non-linear career. I started as a management training. I think Madam Fazna here, I have a very sort of deep connection to your family, especially Kodabe Abji. Yeah, he was the one who sponsored me for hotel school. And one of the biggest mentors, he called me about 2 months ago. He called me on Messenger. And he said, Saidu, khali ti kaako. I said, Abji, around me, Saeed. No. I'm just asking, okay, who is Saeed? I just can't understand who you are. You are a resort manager, but you are much more than a resort manager. So I had to explain to him everything that I was doing. And he said, yes, that is exactly what I wanted you to do for the community. So these are the kind of things. I don't want to take you through all this, but I did not stay. The linear career is, if you are in F&B, you become a food and beverage supervisor, you become a coordinator, then you become a manager, then you become a GM. Right, Mahudisa? That is what happens. That is your typical linear career. But I didn't follow the linear career. I was in F&B, and then I went into front office. And then one of my GMs asked me, do you want to go in HR? Into HR? I said, yes, I love a challenge. So he put me into HR. So I started HR. And then I was also in politics. Okay? Sorry? I was the first appointed atoll councillor for Formula and the first elected president of Formula Atoll Council. So when I wanted to come back to the industry, nobody wanted to take me. And then I was asking people, okay, what can you use me for? And somebody said, okay, can you come and do some training? I said, yes. And then I got into training and development. But then it was just too one-track, one-dimensional. I had to go into operations. So I went back into operations. So I am in operations now. Operations is very complex. Now I'll give you just one example. One of the biggest challenges that we have on a daily basis is dealing with rubbish, garbage, waste management. Now, if you look at a resort, there are areas of garbage that we can control. There are areas of garbage waste that we can't control. Now, everybody talks about zero waste, zero food waste, and all these things. But a resort, can you reach zero waste? Because more than half of what goes into the bin in a restaurant comes off the guest's plate. And we have no control over that. We have no control over that. And then most of the time, when we do planning, when we do capacity planning, we don't factor in some of these things that we don't really understand. And then what happens is we end up, getting more than what we can actually bite and chew. So there's always backlog. So even if you look into waste management, it's so complex that you need a whole host of different skills and expertise to solve that one problem, right? You need behavioral science, right? You need economic incentivization, right? You need engineering to manage your capacity. So you need many, many, many different complex areas of understanding and insight just to manage one small problem. So that is where my passion lies. I want to understand as many areas as possible so that I can bring all this together and make a difference. Okay. These are some of the things that I do at home. And she doesn't like it because she says I mess up the kitchen. But I have a beautiful mother-in-law who adores me, and she says that I can do whatever I want in the kitchen. But all these things keep me, gets me out of bed every day, because there's so much that I want to know, there's so much I want to do, there's so much that I want to experience. Whether it is my cup of coffee in the morning, I really, really enjoy it, because you have to want it to be able to experience the happiness that it gives you. Okay, that is why if you look at Nobel laureates, people who have won Nobel Prize, about 90% of them have very, very passionate hobbies. It's not that one thing they do well. Successful people have very passionate hobbies that they spend a lot of time and a lot of energy on. But in my case, I think I have too many. Right? That is why I'm not as successful as some of them, because I'm trying to do too many things. But I also recently started TikTok. Sorry? You can follow me. I think we've all heard about polymaths, right? Or Renaissance people. People who do many, many things, people who are good at many areas. If you look at Greek philosophers, they don't understand one thing. They're not good at one thing. They're good at many, many different things. If you look at the Islamic Golden Age, you see a lot of these people are scientists, they are authors, they are poets, they are astronomers. They are many, 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 many things, and they do many things. They don't focus on just one area. They focus on many, many different areas, and they're able to bring insights from different areas to make a difference for humanity, for people, for their community. And also, we see this from the Maldives, right? If you look at Utim Takurfan, right? He was a sailor, very good sailor, right? And he was a Pandita person, right? He did Pandita as well. Yeah, we did Pandita as well. Right? Salahuddin. If you read his writing, you understand how much that man knows, that man knew, right? If Hassan Hamid, Dr. Hassan Hamid, right? I mean, he does these weird experiments for science, right? He would ask somebody to make halwa and just make a business case out of it to see whether it is, commercially feasible to make halwa and get make a living out of it. He would get somebody to try Muhammad Amin's Kulibokiba recipe and then put it alongside, today's modern era recipe and then see the difference, right? He would grow chilies and then publish his results, right? He would translate books from Saadi, Persian poets. I mean, that man does so much, right? And then sometimes you wonder, how the hell does he find the time to do this? It's passion. If you're passionate, you'll find time. If you're passionate, you'll find a way, right? I had many mentors along the way, right? And as I said, Abji was someone who was involved in my formative years of my career. And one of the things that he explained to me, as I was getting started, he said just after my management training, just after hotel school, he put me on a management training program. And one of the things that he told me was, I want you to go on the boat that disposes of garbage, because back in those days we used to dispose of garbage in the sea, which is a very good thing. But I think we shouldn't be doing it now. Nobody should be doing it now. And then he said, I want you to be able to understand how the currents flow, so that when garbage ends up on someone else's beach, that person calls you and says that your people dumped rubbish, that ended up on my beach. And if you ask your people should be able to explain to you, and then you have the correct understanding of how current would flow and where what they dumped would end up, right? And you should be able to discern what tools we use for what. And he told me that I have to do everything that the lowest person in the resort did, just to develop an appreciation for what people do on a daily basis, so that I have a better understanding and a deeper respect for those people who did that. And one of his advices was, okay, can I say this in the way, by my, apologies for those here who don't understand. I think, John, you understand a little bit of the way? No? Okay, then I will say this in English. He said, when I'm coaching football, I can teach people to kick a football in 100 different ways. Okay, I can tell them, how to kick the ball when it comes this way, that way, in 100 different ways. But if the ball comes during play, if the ball comes in the 101st way, my players should not tell me, Abji kyanu de, dekho to bola amita ha korte. So you should understand how to kick a football regardless of how the pass was given to you, right? So I want you to use your own creative brain and your own intelligence, your own intellect when you're making decisions. Not depend on other people, not depend on what you've learned, not depend on what you've read in books. Use your insights. Look at the thing holistically, right? And then I had a roommate in the 90s. Anyone here from NAFRO? No? No one is here from NAFRO? Anyone here who does scuba diving? No? Scuba diving? You know Yusuf Bey from NAFRO? Yeah, Yusuf Bey? Fayaz uncle. Yusuf Bey. Yusuf Bey was my roommate in the 90s. Yes. And he introduced me to Scorpions, the German rock band. They sing beautiful ballads, and they are beautiful. They're still beautiful. He introduced me to a lot of books, and the first book that he wanted me to read was there's a book called Silva's Mind Control. Jose Silva, the guy who does mind control. This is from the 70s and 80s. And then because back then his wife, Fowdy, was living in India with Adam, their son. And whenever he would go every 3-4 months, and then whenever he would come back, he would bring me books. And then I developed a love for books with Yusuf. And we used to listen to music, and we used to discuss everything under the sun. And he's, again, someone who is interested in many, many, many different areas, not just one thing. And all of you will know someone here now, Tutu Zahir, right? Muhammad Zahir. He is one of the pioneers, one of the masterminds of the modern Maldivian military. But I met him after he retired from military. I met him at a resort. And this man, in his 60s, put us, people, I was in my 40s back then, to shame with his physical fitness. Well, look, I mean, I don't have to tell you that, but 4 days a week, he is in the gym at 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. 4 days a week. And that man goes to the buffet. He takes a small plate. He goes around, and all he takes is a piece of chicken and a lot of leaves. That's it. That is absolutely it. And we put on big plates of rice. One of the things that I learned from Zahir is that you can't take your physical fitness you can't take it for granted. It's not by chance. You have to work for it. You have to work for it deliberately. If you want to keep, you have to work for it. How many of you know this man? No? Bill Gates called him the most intelligent person he knows. Bill Gates. Bill Gates called this person the most intelligent person he knows. There must be a reason, right? He was the CTO for Microsoft, but he's retired from Microsoft now. His name is Nathan Myhrvold. You can Google him, you can search his name, Nathan Myhrvold. He started a cookery book series called The Modernist Cuisine. This guy worked with Stephen Hawking as a research assistant after his graduation, his PhD. So he's a theoretical physicist. He was CTO in Microsoft. And now he's a cook. And he also works on problems that can change humanity. You can look him up. Nathan Myhrvold. Myhrvold is Myhrvold. Yes, he's a venture capitalist. Yes. He works on very, very big projects. You know him, right? He doesn't know you. Okay. All right. So I have 3 takeaways. Hope I didn't take too much time. I want to talk about the takeaways, but I want to tell you about a person who lived many, many, many years ago. His name is Jalaluddin Muhammad Rumi of Balkhi. Right? The other day, I was telling my students, but by the way, I also teach. I was telling my students about Rumi and said, no, the TikTok Rumi, no, we don't want to hear about it. I said, no, this is a person who lived long time ago. Some of Rumi's wisdom has now been recycled by a lot of modern psychologists. and also academics. I mean, all of you are familiar with Adam Grant, Hidden Potential, right? That is his latest book. But Rumi said 900 years ago, almost 800, 900 years ago, you're born with wings. Why are you crawling through life? Basically, two sentences, right? So, Rumi says, sell your cleverness and buy bewilderment. Be amazed every day. Ask questions. Stay curious. Don't ever think that you know enough. Don't ever think that you've learned enough. Don't ever think that your field civilization is enough to make a difference in the world. The second point is careers. Please don't look for a linear career, because this is called a gig economy. People call it a VUCA world, a tuna world, right? VUCA is for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Tuna, not the fish. Tuna is for turbulent, uncertain, novel, and ambiguous. So in this world, there's something called gig economy. In the gig economy, people don't stay in one career, people don't stay in one area. They move sideways. They move into different areas. They want to do whatever is available to them that can be commercially exploited, so that pays them, because we need some money to stay happy, right? Without money. And also there is LinkedIn data. All of you are on LinkedIn, right? You're there, I believe that you trust them, right? Sorry? Not. There's LinkedIn data that says generalists make better CEOs than specialists. So I am here to tell you that I believe that a generalist can be a happier person. Not necessarily more successful, but I think a generalist can be a happier person. Many of you would probably be familiar with someone called Malcolm Gladwell, right? No? Malcolm Gladwell came up with this book about a decade ago called Outliers. And in Outliers, he says it's 10,000 hours of practice. It says the story of success. He says you need 10,000 hours of deliberate practice to become successful. And then a few years later, a younger man comes up, David Epstein. He's a journalist who writes for the Sports Illustrated, who also wrote the Sports Gene. And he says, Malcolm, you aren't really, that's not true, right? And he has a book called Range. And in this book, he talks about many stories of people who don't specialize early on, but then experiment with many, many different things early on in their careers and become successful, but becomes better people later on in their lives. And he compares the stories of Tiger Woods and Roger Federer, the Tiger versus Roger story. And this very beautifully illustrates, because Tiger had a very, very early start, because at 7 months, his father gave him a putter. And then at 2 years, he was on national TV, putting, playing golf. But Roger Federer, on the other hand, didn't play competitive tennis until he was 17 or 18 years old. And both ended up being, very, very successful sports people. So the moral here is you don't have to specialize early on into one field, but you can experiment with many, many different things, but then also become successful towards the end of your career in whatever you choose to specialize in. Thank you very much. If you have questions, I would love to entertain. Sorry? Do you have any questions? Yeah. Said Ali? Yeah. Yes. Yes. No? Yes. Isam. Yeah. 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 I think it's very subjective and depends on individuals. Also, the area that you want to specialize in. I think if you want to specialize in training and development, for training and development, you need to understand a lot of other areas like behavioral science, behavioral economics, why people do things and what do, a lot of, neurology. So I think you need, in order to specialize in learning and development, you need the sweet spot where a lot of these things meet. So how much time you spend on one of these, each of these areas will depend on you. I think I would end by saying you only bite how much you can chew, right? You have to pace yourself, and then you have to evaluate your progress and see if you're making progress, then you can do many things. But if you're not making progress, that you need to review and reevaluate, recalibrate. All right. Thank you very much. You have a question? I think, sorry, there's a question. Yeah. Yes.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Shujat. My question was, how would you define success, like in your perspective? How do you define success in the sense, like, what are the things that you consider when you, as successful things or as successful achievements, for example? More like personally, in your perspective. Because I asked this question because at the end of your presentation, the statement that you made, I apologize, but it was like generalist, right? Generalizing,
Yes,
like,
yes.
and then you were talking about this, and then if not, there came a word where like it's not successful. So I was wondering what success means to you. You know?
Success to me means being happy, being able to do what I want. I think there is a word here that I want to use. I want to feel appreciated so that I know that I'm making a difference in other people's lives. I think that is success to me. Professional success is something that eludes me because after 28 years, I put my hand up, I said, I want to become a general manager. Okay, this was 2 years ago. And my bosses told me, not yet. And then they said, you have to get certified. Look, I have a BA and I have an MBA. They still asked me to get the CHA certification. So I got the CHA certification. So I'm still waiting. So success professionally is something different. But to me, success personally means to be able to do the things that I want to do and make a difference in people's lives and be, when people tell me that this is helpful, that is success to me. Thank you.
Hi, everyone again. Let's give a warm round of applause to the person who believed himself cute, sharing confidently his growth pictures where people nowadays don't want to check out the childhood pictures and say, hide them. And we say, like, when we see our childhood pictures, Achi huri gote. Photo forward. Like that, right? So if not us, then who? If not you, then who is gonna love yourself? So believe in yourself that you are cute, handsome, pretty, right? Still, I feel like you all are sleepy. Sure? Okay, do me a favor. Just stand up and take 10 steps around and go back to your seat. 10 steps count. Okay, be very truthful to yourself. 10 steps and back to your seats. Yes, I forgot about it. On behalf of Picoma, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude for your exceptional speech. In recognition of your valuable contribution, we are honored to present you with the certificate of appreciation. Come on, where's the loud applause for this appreciation?
Please join me